Most people are familiar with the scene. A king sits on a throne, separating humanity the way a shepherd separates sheep from goats. The standard takeaway is straightforward. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and you inherit the kingdom. It reads as a universal mandate for basic human kindness. But an intense academic debate exists regarding exactly who is standing in that room. The passage names two distinct groups: all the nations facing judgment, and a separate party the king calls these brothers of mine. Today, we tend to assume nations means every individual who ever lived, and brothers means anyone in poverty. Yet for most of church history, that interpretation was actually the minority view. To understand the intended stakes of this prophecy, we have to look past modern assumptions and decode the original Greek language within the exact historical moment it was spoken. The prophecy arrives in the Gospel of Matthew, immediately following a moment of intense emotional distress. Jesus is looking out over Jerusalem, weeping over the city, and predicting its coming downfall. He is describing the events of 70 AD, when the Roman Empire would violently dismantle the Second Temple and trigger the global scattering of the Jewish people. He spoke these words from a place of deep, protective grief for his own kin. He knew his people were about to face centuries of long exile and extreme vulnerability among foreign powers. This end-times prophecy serves as a direct response to the specific historical tragedy of the Jewish diaspora. The identity of the groups depends on a single Greek phrase, panta ta ethne, translated in our Bibles as all the nations. To determine what that phrase meant to a first-century audience, we track every appearance of those words across ancient biblical Greek manuscripts. This visualization maps out 104 distinct times that specific phrase appears in the ancient texts, categorizing how authors applied it across centuries of literature. The data reveals a consistent linguistic boundary. Out of all 104 instances, the phrase never once includes the Jewish people. Instead, the term exclusively describes the Gentiles, the outside nations, in deliberate contrast to Israel. If all the nations strictly means the Gentile world, then Israel is excluded from the assembly being judged in the scene. This identifies the brothers of mine, those who were hungry, naked, and imprisoned, as the scattered, vulnerable Jewish people. This linguistic evidence transforms the passage into a specific geopolitical judgment of Gentile nations, based on how they treated the Jewish people during their long exile. This follows a pattern established in the earliest biblical texts. In Genesis 12, God promises to bless or curse foreign nations based on their treatment of Abraham's descendants. Ancient prophets like Joel and Obadiah corroborate this, explicitly promising a final reckoning for foreign nations who exploit Israel during their times of distress. While general human charity remains a core biblical mandate, this specific passage serves a different prophetic function. It acts as the final resolution to the vulnerability of the diaspora. It addresses the nations who encountered the Jewish people in their time of weakness and need. Understanding the original language reveals a declaration of divine loyalty, showing a king who returns to hold the world accountable for its treatment of his people when they were most defenseless.